Not having reach used to feel like a limitation, but it actually changed how I trained completely. As a small climber, it is easy to walk away from a problem and blame it on reach, but I got tired of that. So I started training the things that actually help me move better and approach climbs with a strategy. If you are a small climber, this is what I focus on to create reach, stay in control, and move better on the wall. I'll be explaining the 5 foundational practices that has improved dramatically my performance. Let's begin with leg power and hip mobility. My legs are not just for standing on footholds, they are how I create reach. If you can generate force throughout your feet and transfer it through your hips, you can move dynamically and control static positions with way less effort. When you push off a hold, you're not just using your quads. You are driven through your foot, extending your knee, and most importantly, you are opening the hip. Your glutes are the main power generators. Your quads help extend the legs, and your calves transfer the force through your toes into the wall. But none of that works well if your hips can't move freely. Power in climbing is really about how well you can transfer force from the foot through your hips into movement. As a small climber, I can't always rely on reach, so I rely on generating power from my legs and using my hips efficiently to create movement. Exercise number 1, static control. This is where it starts. Being able to control force before you try to make it powerful. Start in a lunge. Shift your weight forward onto the toes. Drive through one leg. Focus on pushing through your toes, engaging your glutes, and staying balanced. This builds strength, control, and awareness of how you generate force on one leg, just like on the wall. Exercise number 2, power. Once you can control it, now we make it powerful. Option A is box jumps. I usually save these for the gym just because of the space, the setup, and having the right equipment. They are great for building explosive leg drive and teaching you to generate force quickly. But if you don't have access to that, option B is just as effective and way more accessible. Power jumps. These are explosive jumps straight from the ground. What I really focus on here is pushing hard through the toes and finish with full hip extension, like you're trying to leave the ground as powerfully as possible. What matters is how you produce a force fast throughout your feet and finish through your hips. This is the same action you use when you commit to a dynamic move on the wall. Exercise number 3, hip mobility. For this, I'm just going to share my morning routine, nothing fancy. These are simple movements you have probably seen before. What makes them effective is consistency. I do this every day, and over time, it really adds up. It takes me about 10 minutes max, but it sets the tone for how I move the rest of the day. And this is key. The more mobility you have, the better you can actually use your leg power. It allows you to get into stronger positions, generate force more efficiently, and transfer that power into your climbing. All these exercises improve forces production and let me transfer power from the ground into upward movement. This isn't about jumping higher. It is about understanding how to create a movement from the ground up. Now, sometimes we are going to be so extended that we won't have the length to bend our knees, push, and create that force. So, we will have to generate from our upper body. And this is where my second practice comes into place. Body tension and shoulder control. Building upper body strength and power has been huge for me, but more importantly, learning how to actually use it. For me, it is all about maintaining tension. Whether I am in a fully extended static position or moving dynamically between holds, being able to stay connected through my body makes all the difference. Now, what do I mean by shoulder control? Yes, I do a lot of weighted and power pull-up, but that's not the whole picture. I put a big focus on scapular strength and rotator cuff work because that's what actually let me use that strength. That's what allows me to stay strong and maintain tension when I'm fully extended, and also generate force when I need to move explosively. And I want to be clear about something. There are many different exercises that can achieve this, and they all work. The real difference comes down to what fits best into your routine, what's convenient, what tools you have access to, and what you will actually use consistently. I choose these not just because they are effective, but because they are simple to set up and easy to take anywhere, home, crag, or the gym. And the progression is intuitive, so you can build strength without overcomplicating the process. I always do these as part of my warm-up with elastic bands. And on days of conditioning, which are 2 to 3 times a week, I increase the intensity. These are minute on a minute of 5x4s, 5 reps, 4 rounds. External rotation, T with dumbbells, Y with dumbbells, shoulder external rotation at 90 degrees for the scapula. And alongside of this, I also include isometrics, both yelling and overcoming, plus antagonist work, mostly using parallettes or a pull-up bar. This helps bring balance to the whole practice and keeps everything working together efficiently. If you want me to go deeper into this, drop a comment below and I can make a full video on it. I have another video where I go deeper into body tension. I will leave the link in the description if you want to check that out. But for now, I will walk you throughout some of my favorite exercises. And again, there are many ways to train this. These are simply the ones that have helped me the most when it comes to optimizing full body extension, which in climbing happens all the time. Bear to extended plank. Why this one? Because it helps me maintain proper pelvic positioning and create a strong connection between my core and my extremities. Transitioning into the extended plank mimics the kind of full body tension we constantly use on the wall. Balance plank. This works really well for anti-rotation and targeting stabilizer muscles. It also builds awareness and control, especially when you focus on your breathing. Front lever. This one is definitely more demanding, which is why I include assisted variations. I typically work with 3 to 5 second holds and take longer rest periods due to the intensity. What I'm aiming for here is maximum strength in a tension-based position. A few high-quality reps are enough to stimulate the nervous system without overloading the tendons. One arm strength. This is something that really changed how I move on the wall. This is not just about campus and everything. It is about being able to control your body when most of your weight is on a single arm, staying stable and creating movement from there. That ability to stay engaged on one side, especially in stretch or awkward positions, makes a huge difference in how efficiently you climb. And for exercises, I keep it simple and focused. I do one arm scapular pull-ups. This is the foundation. I work on shoulder engagement, learning how to activate and stabilize for proper pulling. Then I do one arm assisted pull-ups using rings or resistance bands. I move through a full range with control, no rushing, just building strength evenly. Next, one arm assisted lock-offs. holding at different angles and positions, building the ability to stay tight and control when I need to pause, adjust, or reach. And I also include overhead dumbbell press. This helps build strength throughout the full overhead range, reinforcing shoulder stability and control in positions that transfer really well to climbing. Altogether, this builds the kind of one-arm strength that lets you stay composed, move with intention, and handle more demanding positions on the wall. Creativity and movement strategy. This is a big one. When I look at a boulder, I don't feel locked into the intended beta. I treat it more like a suggestion. I'm always asking what works for me. Something that means using intermediate holds, even if they are not obvious. Sometimes it's as simple as changing a foot position to bring the move closer. And a lot of the time, it's just trying different sequences until something clicks. And yes, sometimes I watch someone do a move in a go, super smooth, and I'm there taking the scenic route with 2 or 3 moves. And look, it's okay to be a little bothered by it for a second, but then you just get back to work and find your way. From a movement perspective, this is what's called movement variability. Basically finding solutions that match your body instead of forcing a single correct way to climb. At the end of the day, there's always another way. You just have to be willing to explore a bit and find it. Mindset. At first, it's easy to compare. Watch someone do a move effortlessly and feel like you're already at a disadvantage. And yes, that can get in your head. Or walking away from climbs thinking, I'm just too small for this. Over time, I made a rule for myself. I don't walk away until I have used all my tools, tried different beta, adjusted positions, experimented with movement, really gave it a fair shot. And a lot of the times, something ends up working. But at the same time, there's also value in recognizing when something just doesn't fit right now. Not everything is worth forcing, and not every climb needs to be sent that day. So it becomes this balance. Push your limits, explore your options, but also be honest enough to step back when it makes sense. That way you're not stuck in frustration, you're actually moving forward. At the end of the day, this isn't really about reach. It is about how you choose to show up. The way you move, the way you adapt, the way you respond when something doesn't come easy. That's what actually shapes your climbing. We all have different strengths, different limitations, but there's always something you can build, refine, or approach differently. So don't get stuck trying to fit into someone else's way of climbing. Take the time to understand your own style, build your own tools, and trust that process. Because progress doesn't come from having the perfect body for it. It comes from learning how to use the one you have.